What is your name?
My name is George Barber.
What is your relationship with Mimi Poe?
I just knew her from school.
Do you have any red jackets at home?
Yeah, I have a wool red jacket.
Do you have any other exes?
No.
What's your name?
Dave Campfield.
What is your relationship with Mimi Poe?
I don't know her.
Do you own any red jackets at home?
Yeah.
Do you know what kind?
No.
What is your name?
My name is Ted Wilson.
Where were you the night of the crime?
I was at the library studying.
Did you date Mimi Poe?
Yeah, we dated about like a year ago.
And how did that relationship end?
But we're still friends now.
What is your hair color?
My hair color is brown.
What is your name?
Jeff Scargin.
What is your relationship with Mimi Poe?
I'm her ex-boyfriend.
How many years ago?
3 years ago.
Are you a violent person?
No.
What is your name?
Casey Jacko.
Where were you the night of the crime?
At home.
Do you have any red jackets?
Yeah, I have a red-orange polyester jacket.
My name is Whitney Ho, and I have a master's in forensic science from Stanford. I work at our forensics lab, and I've been working there for 30 years. Here I have presented the fingerprint that was identified to be the victim Mimi Poe's right thumb, which has a radial loop. 2 ridges down from the core is an eye, and 10 ridges up from the core is another eye. And 4 ridges up from there to the left is an eye. 5 ridges up from there is a bridge, and 1 ridge up there is a fork. Here I have presented the fingerprint that was identified to be the victim's left second finger fingerprint, which has a tented arch. From the center, the highlighted part on the right to the left is a fork, and 3 ridges up is another fork. 1 ridge up from there to the left is an eye, and 11 ridges up from there to the right is an ending ridge. 1 ridge up from there is a fork, and 2 ridges up from the fork is an ending ridge. Here I presented the fingerprint that was identified to be the victim's right fourth finger fingerprint, which has an ulnar loop. From the core, 4 ridges up to the left is a short ridge. 2 ridges up from there and to the right is an eye. 1 ridge up from the eye is a fork, and other 5 ridges up from there is a triple fork. Here I've presented the fingerprint that was identified to be the victim's left fourth finger fingerprint, which has an ulnar loop. 1 ridge up from the core there is a fork, and above it is an ending ridge. Another ridge up there is another fork, and above that is another fork. Another 2 ridges up is another fork. Here I have presented the fingerprint that was identified to be the suspect Ted Wilson's right thumb, which has an ulnar loop. 4 ridges up from the core on the right is a scar. From the end of the scar to the 5 ridges up is another scar. 6 ridges up is a fork, and 4 ridges up to the left is an ending ridge. To the left, 4 ridges down is a fork, and 1 ridge down from that fork is another fork. 1 ridge down from the fork is a scar, and from the end of the scar, 4 ridges down is an eye. Here I've presented the fingerprint that was identified to be the suspect Ted Wilson's right first fingerprint, which has an accidental whorl. 1 ridge up from the core to the left is an ending ridge, and 1 ridge up from there is a fork. 1 ridge up from the fork and to the left is a dot, and 1 ridge up from the dot is a fork. 7 ridges up from there to the left is an ending ridge, and to the right of that same ridge there is a fork. 1 ridge up from the fork is an eye, and 3 ridges down from that eye is a scar. After examining the results of the fingerprint investigation, it can be strongly concluded that the fingerprints found at the crime scene either belong to the victim or Ted Wilson. Considering the fact, we have concluded that Ted Wilson is the likely perpetrator of the crime.
Hi, I'm Karam Singh. I got a master's in forensics from DVC. I've been studying this field for about 2 weeks, and I work at the Black Hawk Forensics Lab. So as we take a look at the fibers from the crime scene and compare them to the fibers of the victim, we can make the assumption that the fiber from the victim is in fact rayon. After conducting a burn experiment of each of the fibers, the unknown fiber and the control rayon both burned immediately and in the same fashion as rayon. Furthermore, after looking at each fiber from under the microscope, the fiber from the victim looked mostly like the fiber from the control rayon because both had similar characteristics, such as being entwined together in one strand. Comparing both under the microscope, both looked like they were compounded into a larger strand as opposed to being more spread out. After carrying out the burn test and looking at the fibers under the microscope, we can make the conclusion that the fiber from the victim is in fact rayon.
My name is McKenna Quinn. I have a master's in forensic science from Penn State, and now I currently work at a Pennsylvania police lab for 45 years as a hair analyst.
Though hair is considered class evidence, its probative value makes it unable to ignore. In the Mimi Poe case, 5 suspects had hair strands taken to compare with hair strands found at the crime. The hair found at the crime scene is dark brown, with no medulla, curly, and about 4.8 inches. Of the 5 suspects, George is the only one with blonde hair and a medulla, leading him to not be the killer of Mimi Poe. Though all of the other suspects have dark brown hair, no medulla, and curly hair, what sets them apart is the length. Casey and Jeff have the longest of the 6 samples, with 12 inches and 7 inches. Dave's hair is drastically smaller, being 2 inches, ruling him from being the suspect. Ted's hair is the most similar to the hair at the crime scene, with a length of 4 inches. Though hair doesn't give certainty of who the murderer is, Ted is the most similar, making him our lead suspect.